Hey, hello everybody. Rocco Million with my first live broadcast with Real Progressives. So today I want to talk about what I'm seeing all over Facebook and the mainstream media um, from Democrats and everybody flipping out about the tax plan, Trump's tax plan, blowing up the debt. Uh, okay, this is if we're going to attack Trump's tax plan. It should not be on the grounds that it adds $1.5 trillion to the debt. Okay. It should be on the grounds that it creates inequality, wealth inequality. All right. Giving more money to the top isn't going to create new jobs. All right. It's not lack of capital that's making them not expand. It's lack of sales. Okay. You could give them as much money as you want. If they're not selling product, they're not going to be expanding. They're not going to be hiring. Okay. Rich people don't create the jobs. They create temp jobs. All right. And, what they do, they can put as much money as they want into their business. They can make the best products in the world. But if they can't, if the people can't buy their products, if they can't make the sales, then they're going to go out of business every time. The fact is the rich people don't make the jobs. What makes permanent jobs is a healthy economy. And how you get a healthy economy and a sustainable economy is by spending at the bottom, by guaranteeing the jobs at the bottom, income distribution. Okay. People at the bottom have more money to spend, and that demands and guarantees the jobs of the educated and skilled on top of them. Okay, that's how they get the sales necessary to sustain growth in the economy. It's not from giving billionaires an extra $1 million or an extra $10 million. That ain't going to do nothing. They got more money than they could use already. All they do is stick it in a savings bond, and they earn interest for nothing. They get a basic income, basically, for nothing. It adds no value to the economy, no production value, nothing. It's savings. It's a demand leakage. Okay, so the only way to create a sustainable economy is, again, by a federally guaranteed living wage job for everyone who wants one. All right. This sets a price floor for labor. This would make the minimum wage, the federal living wage, without a mandate to the private sector. Okay. Either they beat the federal living wage package job, or they can't attract a labor workforce. Either they reevaluate their business model where they can't attract a labor workforce, and so if we want to attack the tax plan, let's attack it for the right reasons, for inequality, and if Democrats were smart, they would understand that, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to say, look, it's not a problem to blow up the debt. Because all the debt is all the dollars spent into existence that have not been taxed back yet. So that is actually our national savings account. It's not debt in any type of way. Okay, so and if the Democrats were smart, they would say, look, the Republicans are willing to blow up the debt for the 1% to get rich. So, it would, and then it would be political suicide for Republicans to oppose, blowing up the debt for society and infrastructure and sustainable economy. So when I saw Steve Grumbine interviewing Stephanie Kelton when Trump first got elected, and she predicted this, she said this presents an opportunity. When Trump starts putting his package in for, infrastructure and this and that, and he wants to add to the debt, we shouldn't be attacking him for that. We could find common ground there. And then, when Democrats get back into power, they can say, look, remember, we had no problem, blowing up the debt for tax cuts for the rich. So you know that it's not a problem. So now why would it be a problem to blow up debts for society? Public debt for society and a higher standard of living is the entire point of government in dollars to begin with. In the Constitution, the government's mandated to mint and tax to provide for the general welfare of society, not for the private purpose of the capitalist class at society's expense. That's fascism. So, let's not fall into the trap every time Democrats start saying, oh, he's blowing up the debt, $1.5 trillion. It just reinforces the neoliberal narrative that the private sector funds government, and government can't operate without the private sector, and the private sector and the markets are God. When we know, in fact, it's different. It's the opposite. Federal spending funds taxpayers, and then taxpayers can pay their tax, or they could buy bonds. All right. Tax revenues or bond sales don't fund federal spending. It can't happen. All federal spending is new dollars created by fiat via keystrokes. It's all digital. Dollars only become cash when demanded by you at the bank account, from your bank account. Most of the money supply is digital. And so people need to understand. But yeah, so if we're going to attack the Trump tax plan, let's attack it for inequality. Giving more money to the richest people is not going to create jobs. They have tons of money. That's not why they're not expanding. They're not expanding because they don't have the cells to expand. They don't want to throw money away. You could give them all the money in the world. If there's not cells to support expansion, then they're not going to expand. The only way to get cells is through a healthy economy. The only way to have a healthy economy is to spend at the bottom, maximize the velocity of money, okay? Full employment through a federally guaranteed living wage job for every single person that wants one, all right, sets a wage floor for labor. It makes the minimum wage the federal living wage without a mandate to the private sector. Either they beat the federal living wage or they get no workforce. It's that simple. This would transform society. It would empower labor against the predatory nature of capitalism, period. It would be a democratic means of production, okay? And it would take a lot of deficit spending, which is the main point. We would need a lot of deficit spending. And we need a lot of deficit spending for green, sustainable energy, and for single-payer health care, and for college debt relief, and for free college tuition. These are all things that we're going to need huge increased deficits for. Okay, so if we're sitting here now crying about Trump blowing up the debt and deficits, how is that smart? We're playing into the same narrative. That's why everybody says that it's all connected. It's two sides of the same coin. The Republicans will say cut spending. Democrats will say, raise taxes. But they're both saying we need revenue. They're both saying the private sector funds government. And without the private sector, nobody can do anything. Government can't spend and operate. It's bullshit. It's the opposite way. The government, with its ability to impose tax and be the monopoly issuer of the only tax credit, owns the private sector. It owns everything. Plus, it got its regulatory powers. Okay? It never needs the private sector. And the ruling class know this. They bank on the fact that you don't. You don't know it, and it sounds too simple, so you dismiss it. And this stuff is counterintuitive at first, only because how you think of your household budget has nothing to do with a monetarily sovereign government that can make its own money. Okay? It has nothing to do. It's completely different. We all know that we're not on the gold standard no more. Yet people still think that Fort Knox needs to be filled with gold for some reason. We all know that our fiat currency system is kind of like monopoly, but we still compare our household to the federal budget. It doesn't make sense. We're not thinking about this stuff deeply. Okay, MMT is logic and common sense. And if you think it through, you can really understand, a lot, everything. It implicates everything in our society. So that's all I got. If we're going to oppose the Trump tax plan, never, ever say it's because it's blowing up the debt and deficit. It's always because it's just inequality. We're funneling money to the top. It's about the distribution of those deficits, not the deficits themselves, not the debt itself. It's how we use that money, how we spend that federal spending. Okay, if we spend it at the bottom on society, then that debt is a great thing. Okay, when FDR used deficit spending to fund the New Deal, we got infrastructure, we got highways, we got living wage jobs, we got a social safety net, we got education. Okay, all these years later, those deficits are now part of our national debt, but we still benefit from the real resources they created. Now, what's the real debt? The money that we have infinite of? Or would it be if FDR never did that? And today we didn't have all of those great things that spending got us, highway system, infrastructure, and all that. So that would have been the real debt. And when we talk about debt on the future generations, it's not about numbers on a scorecard. Okay, the debt is the lack of investment we made into sustainable energy. The debt is the lack of investment we made in education for our children. I mean, if we want a future, we need smart, productive kids. It ain't about money. It's about, like Greenspan said in Congress to Paul Ryan, it ain't about money. It's about a system that makes the real resources, so the real resources are available for the people to buy with that money. Okay, so that's all I got. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Talk more later. Peace.